Impeach. Don't impeach.
That's what I said. That's
No obstruction. No collusion.
Well, I'm not a crook.
We have been given a set of facts,
Russia, if you're listening,
collected and analyzed, detailed in a 400-page report
Smoking gun.
by the men and women of the United States Department of Justice.
we got him.
This is the case against the president.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Part 3. The President's Backdoor Man. I may have been raised in a barn, but I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. If you want to be successful, the name of the game is diversity. In personal finance planning, a diverse portfolio will help you weather economic uncertainty more securely in the long run. In a changing climate, our national security depends on a broad and diverse supply of energy to power our economy, to heat our homes, and to ensure the free flow of information. For my home, my family's needs, we rely on multiple electrical generation sources, from our local Board of Public Utilities, from our solar panels, from our wind turbines, and from emergency combustion generators. If you want to be successful, you must be prepared, in any situation, to do what's required to meet your objectives. That means having a Plan B and a Plan C. However important you believe that objective to be, that's how many plans you should make. George Papadopoulos expressed his interest in joining the Donald J. Trump for President campaign in March 2016. On March 6th, Sam Clovis, the Trump campaign's national co-chairman and chief policy advisor, called Papadopoulos to discuss a position as a foreign policy advisor. Papadopoulos recalled that Russia was mentioned as a topic, and he understood that Russia would be an important aspect of the campaign's foreign policy. Approximately 1 week after signing on as a foreign policy advisor, Papadopoulos traveled to Rome to meet with officials working with Link Campus University. One of those officials, Joseph Mifsud, maintained Russian contacts while living in London. Mifsud seemed uninterested in Papadopoulos until he told him of his position within the Trump campaign. On March 17, 2016, Papadopoulos traveled to London. While in London, he met again with Joseph Mifsud. Following the meeting, Papadopoulos sent an email to the Foreign Policy Advisory Team, saying in part, "The leadership, including Putin, is ready to meet with us and Mr. Trump, should there be interest." 4 days later, candidate Trump publicly named him as a member of the Foreign Policy and National Security Advisory Team, chaired by Senator Jeff Sessions. On March 31, 2016, during a meeting of foreign policy advisors that included Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions, Papadopoulos spoke about his previous work in the energy sector and brought up a potential meeting with Russian officials. Trump was interested in and receptive to the idea of a meeting with Putin. Carter Page worked for the Donald J. Trump for President campaign from January 2016 to September 2016. He had been approached by Russian intelligence officers before, in 2008 and 2013. Russian officials may have focused on Page in 2016 because of his affiliation with the campaign. From 2004 to 2007, Page was the deputy branch manager of Merrill Lynch's Moscow office, working with transactions involving Russian energy company Gazprom, and became familiar with Sergei Yatsenko. From 2008 to 2013, Page formed relationships with Russian government officials working at the consulate in New York. Some of them, Russian intelligence officers working covertly in the United States under diplomatic cover. Viktor Prodny noted to another officer in a recorded call that it was obvious that Page wants to earn lots of money. In January 2016, Page began informal work for the Trump campaign. Page told the special counsel's office that his goal in working on the campaign was to help Trump improve relations with Russia. He expressed in emails to Trump campaign officials a direct meeting in Moscow between Mr. Trump and Putin could be arranged. On March 21, 2016, Trump formally identified Carter Page as a member of his foreign policy team on Russia and energy. Paul Manafort served on the Trump campaign, including a period as campaign chairman from March to August 2016. Manafort's Russian contacts stem from his consulting work for Oleg Deripaska, a Russian oligarch who's closely aligned with Vladimir Putin, and his separate political consulting work in Ukraine from 2005 to 2015. On March 29, 2016, the campaign announced Manafort would serve as the campaign's convention manager. Roger Stone, who had worked with Manafort in the 1990s, recommended Manafort to candidate Trump. According to Wikipedia, President Barack Obama warned President-elect Trump against hiring Flynn on November 10, 2016. During their meeting in the Oval Office shortly after the election, Obama expressed profound concerns about hiring Flynn to a sensitive national security post. Around that same time, Flynn told Transition Team Counsel Don McGahn that he was under investigation for secret lobbying work he had done for Turkey. during the campaign. And on December 10, 2015, Flynn attended a gala dinner in Moscow for RT, a Russian government-owned media outlet where he had made regular appearances as an analyst after he retired from government service. Also in attendance, future presidential candidate Jill Stein. 2 months later, in February 2016, Michael Flynn was asked to serve as an advisor to the Trump campaign. As Donald Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen's Russian connections stem from an explored licensing deal in 2013 involving the construction of a Trump-branded property in Moscow. Donald Trump Jr. served as the primary negotiator on behalf of the Trump Organization for a Russian-based real estate project shortly after the conclusion of the 2013 Miss Universe pageant in Moscow. Serving as a senator from the great state of Alabama for 20 years, Jeff Sessions had extensive, publicly documented Russian connections and was an early supporter of the Donald J. Trump for President campaign. And Senator Sessions' longtime communications director, Stephen Miller, joined the Trump campaign in August 2015. During the transition, George Nader arranged a meeting in the Seychelles Islands, where Eric Prince met with Kirill Dmitriev, a Russian national who heads Russia's sovereign wealth fund. They were working on a proposal of reconciliation between the U.S. and Russia that Dmitriev implied he cleared through Putin. Jared Kushner had that proposal for reconciliation in his hands before the inauguration and gave a copy to Steve Bannon and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Dmitriev stopped communicating with the Trump administration sometime in March 2017, when the investment deal they had been working on showed no signs of progress. Coincidentally, on March 20, 2017, FBI Director James Comey testified to the House Intelligence Committee that the FBI had been investigating possible coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia, and whether any crimes were committed. All of them had an independent, clear path to establish a backdoor connection to the Kremlin. Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, Flynn, Sessions. The level of importance placed upon achieving this objective is obvious in the amount of redundancy achieved. Not only did Donald Trump have a Plan A, he had a Plan B, and a Plan C, and a Plan D.
Just to button up one question, did any advisor or anybody in the Trump campaign have any contact with the Russians who were trying to meddle in the election?
Oh, of course not. And I think to suggest that is to give credence to some of these bizarre rumors that have swirled around the candidacy, and the fact that a few news organizations, not this one,
right,
actually trafficked in a memo that was produced as opposition research and associated that with intelligence efforts, I think could only be attributed to media bias.
The question isn't, did anyone on the Trump campaign have contact with Russians? The question is, who didn't? Stand up for the rule of law.